Welcome back to the Dharma Diaries.
Hey guys, it's been a minute.
So I don't know how it's working out for y'all, but I feel like this whole taking the constraints off of ourselves and just doing what we want when we feel like it has really like bumped up our moods, our idea factory brains. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really do feel like taking all the restrictions off has helped us.
It's like taking the vice grip off of your creativity.
Yeah.
Because when you go towards anything like creativity, especially, and I've been, lots of people know about this. Everybody knows about everything that we talk about, by the way. Nothing that we say is new at all. We're not experts, but
right.
It's like you almost have to romance your creativity. It's not you. It's another entity. It's presenting itself to you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I see you. You could translate me into the world. And then we go, cool, but like, I'm scared and I don't believe that I can do it or whatever. And we have this whole debate with that energy, that creativity. And that puts a fucking vice grip around it. And then it's like, you're not fun. I'm going to move on to the next person.
Because it reminds me of like how the whole thing with the pulling the ideas down, it's a dance.
Yeah.
And I, when it feels really hard, or when it feels like when you, like it doesn't want you to place importance on it. And then when you do place importance on it, like it kind of dances out of your grasp. And then it reminds me of like giving a hamster to a 3-year-old. You know what I mean? Like then you just crush it accidentally because you love it so much. You really want it to be what you want it to be. And then you just put all your shit on it and it just disintegrates, you know?
It's like everything is like that though. I feel like that's what what we do in relationships. We get into relationships and we're attracted to that person's light. And then we like try to make them fit into our mold.
Yeah.
Because of course we do, because we have a way that we want to live our lives and we like this new element, but it's like, can you contort yourself? Can you fit? Is that within your parameters to like, to fit into my life? Well, it's the same thing with our creativity. When we try to negotiate with it. Oh, I freaking hate this part too, because I can't tell you how many great ideas I've had that I've been like, oh, that's great, but that requires like full frontal nudity. And I'm not there yet, guys. And I appreciate you bringing me this idea and more power to you. And that's probably not me. Check the next house over. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and like whenever we are talking about like cool things that we want to do, I feel like part of well, I can only speak for myself, but this is probably you too, because we do all this together.
Like, you're like, I get this.
What happens is like you get a really cool idea, like a little nugget, and you're like, that's cool. But then I start playing that tape so far forward that I'm like, well, that's not going to work because this and this and this and this and this, and then we're going to have to do this, and then we would, and instead of just like nurturing the idea, sitting with the idea, just allowing it to sort of permeate us and be like, like, oh yeah, that feels cool. That feels true. That feels exciting. I immediately start to like try to jam it into the 3D.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're shifting. And so these ideas that are coming through, aren't gonna fit in the 3D. So I'm gonna kill every one of them trying to make them fit into something that we're leaving. And that's what I keep that's where I keep stumbling, is not just giving it space and time to just kind of unfurl. It's like trying to get a flower to bloom faster. Like that bitch gonna bloom when she's ready.
Right. Exactly.
And so it's fine to have an entire vase full of buds.
Yeah.
There's actually a term called a bud vase, probably for that. You know what I mean? But like, it's fine to have like a bud vase.
Yes.
Or bunches of different bud vases with all these little ideas.
Yeah.
And just keep caring for those and watering those.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, try to pick the damn petals open. You know what I mean? Like, why I keep picking them petals open, girl?
And like pawing at them.
Yes.
Be like, when
is it gonna be?
When are you gonna open?
Yeah. Can it be today? I know, because that was what I mean, you and I have been talking offline about like my realization that this whole I don't think of myself as a victim. Like, I don't think that I'm victimized. I don't see myself that way. However, when I really started to think about the kind of victim, villain, savior paradigm that so many of us struggle with because we were brought up that way.
Yeah.
Like we were brought up thinking, that someone else is going to come save you, someone else, some leader, some guru, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to like find your conditioning that way, you know, like when I'm considering all these things and I'm like, yeah, still, even though I'm like, you are this is a closed circuit type system. You came here with everything you need. Nothing outside of you is going to save you. I still am like, maybe someone will come and, fix our capitalism problem.
Yeah.
So maybe someone will come and fix our flailing economy and shore it up or whatever. And it's like, no, like all of that stuff is dying because it's meant to be dying. And that is my biggest struggle right now, is like, I feel like I have a foot in each world. And it's like, it's like whenever, like, I'm afraid to step. Like, I know I don't want to step just firmly into the 3D because I will die, which we've talked about. Like, I cannot operate in that strict, confined way of being anymore.
Yeah.
But then I'm also afraid to just like completely throw caution to the wind and be like, I'm just going to like go all in on this because it feels like I also will die. So I feel like as I'm straddling this like chasm, I feel like Buddy on Elf, where he's trying to ride the escalator, and he like puts a foot up there and then he just like does a split all the way up. I've probably used this before because it occurs to me a lot, where it's just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to just rip myself in half trying to be in both places.
Yeah.
And because it's fear. It goes back to fear,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's what we're all trying to navigate from different perspectives on the escalator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I love that. That image is really helpful to me. I see myself sort of like, how the alternating thing would go down. Like, you couldn't hold on to the side because it was going down.
Right.
It was what was pulling it down.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like half my body is draped on the side of the thing. Like, if I could just hold this thing, but it's dragging me back and I've got feet I'm upside down. By the way, I did fall backwards on an escalator at Hammond Square Mall whenever I was 12. So I do have a visceral experience of what this energetically feels like. So.
Yeah, girl. I'm about to go wipe out on this escalator.
And now I understand autistic. Back then I just thought awkward. And I literally just stood up and like kept walking, like nothing happened. I think I was bloodied and everything.
I feel like that's what you have to do.
Well, what else are you going to do? Yeah, everybody's laughing anyway. So, and I'll exit the scene now.
Yeah. But yeah, like I feel like I did a crazy thing. And I've talked about it before, but like I did a crazy thing when I had recognition and awareness around the fact that I was so heavily conditioned to behave in a certain way and that it was not true to me. And I really like it was part of the awakening journey, like I was like, I can't do this job anymore that I'm doing. And then like we've talked about too, like getting the confirmation from the universe that like doesn't really matter because the whole industry fell to pieces, you know. I mean, and people are still in it, obviously, and people are still successful, and that's great. And I'm not trying to take anything away from those people. But it really got super hard right after I left. And so that felt to me like confirmation, like, well, this thing is ending. You just walked out the door before it, you know, started to completely crumble into the sea. But it was, I feel like it was not in keeping with my values. And when I look at how many years I spent trying to make this mortgage origination job a good thing, you know, like trying to convince myself that I was helping people and that I was taking care of people and that I was helping people reach their, you know, realize their dreams. And, you know, my whole, like my tagline was, I finance the American dream, you know, all of that. And again, like this is the world we live in. Like people get mortgages, like nobody has, you know, 500 grand to plunk down on a home. Right. But like, I would like to talk about, now that I have a little distance, like why, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like why are we taking 30 years to pay for a roof over our heads? Yeah. And why are people benefiting to the extent that, you know, when you buy your, you know, $250,000, $275,000 house, you're going to end up paying 3 times that at the end of that 30 years. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like knowing that what I was doing, even though it's perfectly legal and even though it's the way that this country is set up, it still felt like running a scam on people a lot of the time.
Yeah, dude.
Not just like whenever I would have any like space or time to think about it, which was rare. So it makes sense that I did this for 20 years almost, you know, because it's like I didn't ever have like downtime and stuff because it's such a all hands on deck all the time kind of industry. But like I was thinking about this the other day, how I really wish like TikTok had been around or like Reels or whatever, like some sort of information sharing that was more accessible to us back in the day. Cause you know, like we're the analog kids that then just like that then worked our way into digital. But like, dude. Yeah. And like, we didn't have the internet, you know, like we do now. Like it was, you know, hard to access and you got kicked off constantly. And you know, you didn't, it's like, not like all your friends were there. Like it was just little pockets of people. And it wasn't like it is now where it's literally a world wide web and we all can get in touch with each other. But like, I remember talking about, to people about when 2008 happened, when, you know, the housing crash, and it's like, okay, well, if anybody had bothered to talk to the people who were actually like processing these loans, we all knew that it was coming. Like we all knew that it was unsustainable and that the bottom was going to fall out at some point because the way it was going was like, oh, and I don't want to do a bunch of like mortgage technical shit because nobody cares about that. I'm aware. But like, you know, if like, a loan officer, this is a true story. Like this actually happened. A loan officer comes to my desk after she gets back from, you know, lunch and cocktails or whatever, and hands me a napkin with a name, a date of birth, a phone number, and a social security number scrawled on it. And it's like, oh, I got an application at lunch. First of all, bitch, no, you didn't. Okay. That's not it. But anyway, that was how we were treated back then. It's just like, and I'm sure that still happens to this day, you know, like it's like, you know, yeah, let me give this to my little underling and they can do all my work because I'm an important person. Like you were talking about the other day, how crazy it was when you moved back here and you're like, why are mortgage lenders on a billboard?
Yeah. I was like, dude,
like there's some celebrities or something. And I mean, and full disclosure, like my ass has been up on a billboard. Well, my face, not my ass.
When that idea came to you, you said you won't have to check with the girl next door.
Yes,
not on that one.
Yes, because I wasn't ready for full frontal either.
Not full frontal. Thank you.
But like I've been on a billboard, I've sponsored events, I've,
Yeah,
like,
girl.
I mean, it's like I've been on TV, like all of that shit.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I put this application together, not my job, but I did it because that's, what we did back then. And
Mhm.
so I collect all of this potential buyers' financial information, bank statements and tax returns and W-2s and all of that stuff. And it's like, this person's trying to buy a second home in Florida, and I can't even see on paper how he's affording his first home.
Mhm.
And so, and I mean, the guy's like a janitor or whatever. And I mean, no shade, like whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, he just doesn't qualify.
Right.
So I tell this loan officer, hey, this isn't going to work. His debt to income ratio is like, 89% or some crazy shit with the
Right.
second home added in. And she was like, she's like, oh, well, what's his credit score? And it was like, not great, like 572 or something.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, okay, well, we'll just take him no income, no asset. Meaning,
Explain what that means.
meaning you put all of the information on the mortgage application. You just don't put anything for the income and you don't put anything for the assets. And that way, when the underwriter underwrites it, she's basically just underwriting the property and the credit score, right? Because you don't have any income or assets on there.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, can you imagine that today? That's crazy, right? Well, it was fucking crazy then too, because
Yeah,
basically
okay.
people
I
who,
was gonna say.
and that was the other thing too. Like these programs initially were created for people who were, not like they weren't showing all their income. They had the income, they just weren't showing it.
But like
they said people like, I don't know exactly. They said people like, doctors and attorneys and stuff, because they write off so much of their expenses. And then because of the way that the mortgage industry was, like, you can't add all of those back, but they are depreciating, office equipment and stuff like that. So it's just, I think it was like a shortcut, because it's like, okay, we know these guys have money. They have like 4 or 5 practices in 6 different counties or whatever.
Yeah.
Like we know that they're good for it.
Right.
We just need to figure out a way to make it okay on paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were conceptualized to be. And then what happened was all of the, like the loan officers learned about these products, and then it was just like, well, why are they just for doctors and lawyers? And so what they would do was,
wow,
change people's like, try to just be stealthy a little bit about people's employment.
dude.
So like this guy was a janitor for like a local school. I think he worked at 2 different schools, but he was a janitor.
Yeah.
And so she rebranded him, like a waste engineer or something like that.
Fucking way.
And then just had no income, no asset. And so it's like, and I'm saying as the processor, I'm like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, I understand how to structure an application too. I mean, I'm doing your job for you 80% of the time. Let's be honest. However, like the issue here is that this man cannot afford this home.
Right.
And my part of my job, everybody's job who's in mortgage, allegedly, clearly this isn't the case, or the whole shit wouldn't have burned to the ground, right?
Yeah.
But like we're all supposed to be looking at risk and protecting the lender, right? Because we all work for the lender.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well, this guy's not gonna be able to pay for this, obviously. Right. And then she's like, oh yeah, but his Uncle Frank is moving in with him from Texas or whatever, and he's gonna stay there. And it's like, it's just a bunch of bullshit.
It's just a bunch of bullshit.
And then they're, so it's like they're closing all these loans. So those of us who were like in the trenches, like processing all these loans, are like, this is all bad paper.
Oh
like, this is all shit. It's not worth the paper it's written on. It's lying. It's all lies.
Wow.
And so then whenever the whole like thing burned down and was like this massive, like bank bailouts and mortgage companies going out of business and these mass layoffs and people's homes being foreclosed and, all this stuff. It's like, well, if you'd have asked anybody like who was boots on the ground at the time, anybody could have told you like, well, yeah, this isn't sustainable. Like, we can't just everybody shouldn't have 2 and 3 and 4 houses, um, and not have any way to pay for them. But it also illustrates to me how, that benefited the wealthy, the people who were, stroking the checks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if they wanted to make make a path of to home ownership available to just the general population, they absolutely could. That we already have that ability. It's just that but no, because we have to fleece people and charge them 75% more than what their home costs over the course of 30 years. That's what we do. And so I know that I might sound like some kind of hippie weirdo at this point, but it's like, I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And it isn't even, I don't want to be a part of mortgage. Obviously, that's not hard. I just freaking rolled out. It's that I don't want to be a part of this toxic, parasitic, like draining people's life essence to keep the machine going. Like they're plugging into us because we're the power source, but like we're almost, if we was an iPhone battery, we would be at 3%.
Oh man, that's the truth.
And so it's like, how are we gonna recharge? Like, how are we gonna get? Because it's not like reciprocal. Like we're not recharging from the system. The system is only using us as battery power. So where do we go to recharge? And I think we go to each other, and I think we go to nature, and I think we start having these, conversations that, again, seem like I'm some sort of socialist, hippie, crazy nut job, but it's really like, well, okay, but we all got here on this earth that was so beautifully designed to support our life experience while we lived here. But then certain people started like co-opting raw materials or whatever and saying that, and land, and saying like, well, this is mine, this is ours. Like we're going to take this and we're going to divide the earth up into different, land masses, and each system, each government is going to own however big a piece we stake our claim to or whatever. And then we're going to fight wars about whose land is what. And in the meantime, like we're going to also take the raw materials that the earth provides, and we're going to lay claim to those, and then we're going to sell them back to these people, and we're also going to charge them taxes to live here. It's just like fucking gross.
It's gross.
It's gross. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that at all. I don't want to be a part of that system. But also, like, I do want to do things like sleep in a bed and eat food. You know what I mean? It's just this like circular argument where it's like, okay, but I don't want to participate in that. But there's no way for me to live without participating in that. And I do want to live, but not if it means participating in that. So it's just like, I feel like I just keep, swirling around this same fucking argument over and over and over again.
Maybe when you get next time to the part where you can't live unless you're a part of this system, when that thought starts to come up, that's where I've found some room to negotiate with myself on this, because it's like, is that really true? Because what you really need is shelter and food and water. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, let's just strip it all
and
away.
Oxygen and sex. No, I'm just
well, right. Right.
Nobody needs to help me out with the sex part. I got it.
No,
I got it.
We're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm not taking any applications.
No applications. Do not call us. But
I really was just trying to set you up to say, don't call me. So yeah, you did it.
Me. Thank you. So like I've had that, I've been like doing that battle with myself about this, because right now I've made a lot of dramatic choices. We talked about this yesterday where, because, we talk like 97 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like,
it's my favorite.
In one of the 97 hours worth of conversations we were having, we were breaking down how mindset, like use my life as an example of how different one little mindset shift can make on how you view your life and what
Mhm.
your narrative structure is for your life, because I live in a shed behind my sister's house,
Mhm.
and that could either be super cool and iconic
Yeah.
or like deeply sad. Do you
But
know
I
what I'm
mean,
saying?
yes, I do.
And it's both.
And yeah, that is true. It's a
And
holding paradox
it's
thing.
both.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, so the way where I live with it is in the iconic and awesome part,
Yeah.
because I really do enjoy a small
Yeah.
space. It's my autonomy. I love how it forces me, like I don't have a bathroom, so I have to go into the main house I say main house like it's not 1,000 square feet, um, into the house to use the bathroom, and
Mhm.
I have to share that space with my sister, and it just is the mechanism through which I get to experience life. Because if I was honestly, I can see how easy it would be for me to just have one of those reclining chairs that was like had a toilet in it, and like you just like from Idiocracy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I can see how easy and seductive it would be to just like completely let myself upload my brain to, to the cloud,
The cloud, yeah.
and let the systems that be uh take whatever they need from me.
Mhm.
As long as I'm comfortable, as long as I don't need, like all of that. I get
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it. I'm like, I battle with addictions on different fronts
Mhm.
constantly. Right now I'm like in a major head to head with my sugar demon, my sugar dragon, who is like at peak capacity right now. I'm like starting to wean him.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro.
I know. And you said yesterday, like, I think I'm going to cut back on caffeine. Like, maybe not 4 or 5
Yeah.
caffeinated beverages a day.
I know. I'm like,
maybe 2.
And this is how I work
Yeah.
with myself, because I know if I've done all of the, okay, that's it, ultimatums with myself.
Yeah.
I've done all of the cold turkeys. I don't have those available anymore. So now
Mhm.
I have to really work with my own inner state, like I'm working with a recalcitrant child, honestly, and be like, okay, like I kind of coax myself
Yeah.
into doing these things. So anyway, back to the conversation about what do we need, and we have to participate in that system in order to survive.
Mhm.
It's like our favorite content creator, Jessa Reed. She's starting to follow her on TikTok if you aren't already.
For sure.
She's
She's
doing
doing microdosing
Yes, that's what I was
anarchy.
gonna bring up.
Microdosing anarchy. And I'm for it.
And
I'm
this
here
is,
for it.
This is a microdosing anarchy
Mhm.
moment, because what it is looking at that experience, that narrative that we all have,
Yeah.
right? That conditioning that we cannot survive unless we participate in the system,
Mhm.
which keeps us locked in. So if we take that one thought and we start to microdose anarchy on that,
Yeah.
and go, is that true?
Mhm.
Really, really? Like, do I enjoy myself whenever I go camping, for example? And I'm, maybe not everyone is like we might be glampers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a small space. Like you and I, we went camping at, where was it?
Getaway in Homachita National Forest. It was a little getaway. And
Yes.
oh my gosh, it was precious.
It was
y'all.
precious.
We had a great time. I mean, I got food poisoning and almost died. And then Summer tried to kill me by cranking that heat up as far as it would go. And I thought I had fever, but I was just in this little hot box.
I didn't realize.
That's when we discovered Summer's not really nursing material.
Well, neither one
She
of
was
us
like,
really.
"Oh, you sick? I'm gonna crank this heat up to 85 degrees and leave you. I hope it works out for you." No, it was hilarious. It was so funny. But yeah, like that was, and I am more of a glamper than a camper. And I think about that too. Like I fuck myself up constantly because I'm like, well, if the shit hits the fan, I mean, other than this bag of rice and a fireplace, I don't know what I would do. Like I don't grow things. Like it would be cool to, but you know what I mean? Like I guess I would just sit in this recliner with the toilet attached.
Yeah, maybe. No, but seriously, that's an option.
Yeah.
And all things, we're a part of one big ball of consciousness that's experiencing itself, right? So somewhere we're sitting on our very own recliner with a toilet seat attached to it, and we're having a great fucking time. So I don't want to discount that life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We don't seem to be on that trajectory right now. So what I'm suggesting is like, if we're going to microdose this anarchic concept of we need to, in order to survive, we need these things. Like, let's take the example of glamping for, as a perfect way to take that argument down, because what is glamping really but shelter, running water,
right,
and like basic facilities to cook your food and refrigerate your food. That's not too much to ask from the earth. The earth has ways to provide that to us that are not directly connected to parasitic systems.
Yeah.
There just are. Like, you can make a root cellar, you can get a solar oven, you can like literally there are well-known, decades old, probably centuries old,
Yeah.
definitely in many cases centuries old technologies that we have literally been trained not or been taught not to look at
Yeah.
and not to investigate or to discount because we have all these new technologies. And I'm not, I think solar and like,
yeah. And like, I don't mean to sound like a spoiled brat because I do enjoy things like having a car to drive and having my iPhone and, you know, all that stuff. And so it's like, I just don't feel like I should have to trade my life force to get it.
Right. No, that's right.
I don't think I should have to toil away for some corporate fucking monolith to have a good experience here in this life. And that's what I'm divesting from, detaching from. And I think that that's where the scariness is coming from, because it's like, okay, well, there, you know, like, it's not like there's something else to jump onto, but there is. I still have conditioning there, so it's that tunnel vision where it's obscured, because like we were talking about, where when you do manage to like divest from this conditioning and this programming, and you take the time to really question and like, oh no, this is just a construct, this is just conditioning and everything, it's like more options then become available to you, and then they just multiply. So like in this strict paradigm that we live in, it's like you have, you know, 3 options or 4 options to choose from, and if they're all equally shitty, you're just like, well, I guess I'm just fucked then, you know. But then if you can say like, okay, but I don't have to do things this way because this is just a construct, you know, money is just a construct.
Right.
All of this is just made up. And so then you have access to like hundreds of options because all this shit is made up.
Yeah.
And you can just do whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so near impossible to see / remember that when you're when you're operating within it.
Yeah.
Like, I had a job interview this morning, and I liked the people. You know, if I get offered the job, I'll probably take it. But there was a period after the interview where like I was corresponding with you, and I was like, I really don't want this job.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get that tunnel vision again. I don't want to forget what my goal is here.
Well, because that is the slippery slope, and that's what makes it so difficult. And that's why I feel so out of sorts trying to straddle, like we talked about in the beginning, because it's like, it's so easy to get sucked back in.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, this is just the fucking way things are, you know? And it sucks, but you know, like, I'm one person, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Whereas when you're getting free of it and you're walking that path, you're more like, yeah, no, like, I am one person, but I am an autonomous sovereign being with a spark of divinity. So like, I can do mad cool shit.
Yep.
I don't need that bullshit, you know?
That's right.
So, but then you just kind of flip flop back and forth. And so that's fucking fun.
Yeah, no shit. Ugh. Yeah. The oscillation being between that despair and all of this hope.
Yes. That is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, and I feel like that's how my days go. I am one of those little oscillating fans.
Yeah, dude.
And it's like, I am good, and then I'm not good, and then I'm good.
Yeah. But I think that's beautiful. I mean, that's something, that's information, it's knowledge about yourself you probably didn't have. I didn't know I had those kinds of, that's why meditation is kind of cool. Not like it's the end all be all. Like, you don't want to be a meditator at the end of your life. You want to have, you know, be a fully realized and actualized whoever you are. But meditation will show you those oscillations.
Yeah.
And give you clarity around it, which is how you figure out what is conditioning, what isn't.
Oh, and it's crazy. Like, I feel like I catch it much sooner now than I ever used to. I'll just be having a thought, and then I'll just be like, nope, that's not a requirement, actually, because that's someone else's made up bullshit rule. Like,
Right.
you don't have to subscribe to that way of thinking for sure, because that's somebody else's made up bullshit rule. You know?
Exactly.
And that's why I think that it's so fun to create because it's like, you know, when you and I sat down yesterday to work on our application for like a like kind of like business incubator kind of thing that we're interested in. It's like, and it was so fun and it's so cool and it's going to be so cool. But we had I had the thought, like, I'm trying to like package it. And then I recognize like, okay, but like really what I want to tell these people and what I think we should say from jump and what we're, after discussing, we're going to say from jump is like, we're not trying to, like, if this is a thing where you give us some sort of a framework or a blueprint to build a business around the scaffolding that all of the other businesses of this type have been built around, like, that's not what we're trying to do. Like, we're not trying to remake something that's already been made and just put our stamp on it. Like, we're making something that isn't here yet.
Yeah.
And so if you have some like cool ass people who just want to think outside the box with us, who also have some business acumen, but understand like we're rewriting this, we're not writing it in the style of, then like that's what we're looking to do, because we don't want to be another fucking cookie cutter thing in capitalism.
Exactly, because all these entrepreneurial businesses end up doing, to be called successes, mind you, is to fucking build it up to a position where it gets bought.
Right.
And consolidated. And it's like, how is that what we consider success now? Like we don't, all we care about is just getting paid out from a thing. And I'm not saying I am not subject to this. We talk about it because we, like with the podcast, you know, we don't do ads specifically because we don't want to violate this sacred space that we've created with the people who are listening here.
Yeah.
And I personally find ads so abhorrent and like
so
such
aggravating. And like people are fast forwarding through those things anyway. So like, what is the fucking point?
Well, the point is they don't care, because it's like if you hear one little tiny 10 seconds or 5 seconds of it, it still hits your subconscious.
Yeah.
And it starts to fucking work on you. And that's, they understand psychology.
Yeah.
So they don't care. It's just like any little chance they can get into, like, get a fucking knife of an idea behind your veil or your filter.
Yeah.
I'm opposed to that. And I just think it's interesting that, at least from this perspective, what looks like success on the landscape of capitalism is to sell out.
Yeah.
To sell out to a big corporation that's going to run it into the ground. Do you remember back like Richard Gere, Pretty Woman, where he was like kind of the bad guy because he would come in and like
a hostile takeovers type. Yeah, like a corporate raider.
A corporate raider. That's who's in charge, y'all.
Yeah. And has been the whole time.
It's just been more and more like dirty raiders, like people who with less and less.
Well, because I think that they used to have some sense of, or maybe they didn't, and it just took this period of time for it to all fucking come
for it to cannibalize itself.
Right. Because it's like, I feel like used to be, at least, you know, you weren't having lavish vacations on your fucking yacht or whatever as a middle class American, but you also were, you know, you could afford to live, and you could afford to retire at some point and then enjoy the rest of your life, whatever was left of it or whatever. And then it's just like more hours and the concept of overtime, and, you know, like, oh, we have this 5-day work week. Like, who the fuck came up with that? The people who need us to work all the fucking time came up with that.
Yeah.
None of us were like, I love my job so much, I just want to do it 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Like, that's bullshit.
That was after a battle, by the way, because wasn't it the ACLU or one of the unions that even got us freaking 2 days off a week?
Yeah.
We should be going down to 3 days of work a week, 4 days off. Like, that would be better.
Yeah. It's so disgusting that it's like this whole, like we already have, if we even believe in money at all, which I mean, I don't, but say you do, say you're like, money makes the world go round or whatever the fuck. And that's something that you subscribe to. Like, there's plenty of money.
Right.
There's plenty. It's just all blood clotted up at the top.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
it's not ticks.
If money is currency, currency flows. Current is the root word of currency. Yeah. So it flows. And so like the money isn't flowing.
You even
but we're
said
constantly, but we're constantly like talking about, like, oh, we need more, 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 more. And no, we don't. We have plenty. We just have some assholes at the fucking top of the pyramid who are just keeping it for what? For what? I just want to ask those people, like, do you use it to light your fires? Are you burning it?
Right.
Do you like bathe in it? Like, what are you doing with all of that? Like, what do you think it's gonna get you?
I know. It's, it's
like,
gross.
It is so gross. It's just so gross because it's like people are suffering, and then it's like taking it even further. It's like, oh, we monetize and pedestalize certain career choices or certain things, that people do. And it's like, just everything is cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Everything is cool as fuck. And those types of things, like what career you choose and what behaviors you choose to do over and over and over again, to me, should not mean that you get more things. It's just like, oh, you're really enjoying what your like passion project is, like, I don't know why we started saying
competition.
Like, I guess I don't know. Because that's the thing. It's so crazy to me is that like everything feels so dumb. Like the rules are so stupid, and I'm just like, and maybe arbitrary. Like maybe all we need to do is all look and be like, well, that's dumb. Like I'm just not going to do that. That is arbitrary, and like I'm not gonna do that.
I'm not gonna.
I think that we just have to like unsubscribe, and it feels really fucking scary out here because I'm unsubscribing, but like that means I could die because the world is still what it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like when larger portions of us of the population who are being taken advantage of basically and farmed for our output and treated like servants or whatever, or slaves.
Worse than indentured servitude.
Then maybe that is whenever it all breaks down, because maybe we just say,
it's like, I feel like
maybe
it's a tipping point.
Yeah, like maybe we just are like, well, we're not going to do the money thing anymore. Like money's dumb. And so we're just going to barter. Yeah. And then when we do that, maybe that's when, like you can have your billions and billions of dollars. Like what the fuck you want to do with them?
Right. Exactly.
Because we don't want it anymore, because we figured out how to like, oh yeah, like I can give you shelter and you give me food, or I give you food and you give me, like art, whatever the fuck it is. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And then maybe maybe that's the whole hack. Maybe also, it's just like enough of us do that, and then the billionaires they can go ahead and burn their money for warmth and sleep in it and kiss it and make love to it.
All of that. All of it. And I'll go even further to say, I think we could all stand to do like far less than we're doing. I think the answer is going to be us going like, we're done. Our bodies are done. That was my situation is my straight up got burned out.
Yeah.
And I literally cannot engage in that level of stress without sending myself into a physical illness.
And you just tried to do it, and just to circle back and see if that was still the case, and it is.
It is still the case.
You like really went like I got
all spun up.
Yeah,
and then it started to take me down.
Yeah, you started to have like physical
symptoms.
Yeah, of burnout, and that's because we have worked like we got the fucking memo.
Yep,
and we went forth to conquer the fucking corporate landscape, and we both did it.
Yeah,
like we're talking about, we are mid 40s. We have made the six figures. Yes. We have drunk the wine. We have driven the fucking BMWs. We have bought the houses. Like we did the damn thing. Yep. And then we were like, well, damn, this is not at all the pinnacle of success feeling that I expected. This is actually kind of depressing.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe we should get into this in like another episode, but I wonder too about how the split works, like with gender politics too, because I had a boss whenever I was like during the 2008 crisis. I worked in insurance, but I worked in the arm of the insurance company that managed the investments. So it was like an investment firm. Yeah. It'd be like working for Wall Street, but in Wisconsin. So
Wisconsin Wall Street.
Yeah. So my boss was like a senior VP managing the traders, the day traders, and we were right outside of the trading room whenever like the stocks crashed and they were like yelling and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to him about career advice, and at that time I was probably like late 20s. And he said, it's so funny because you work really hard in your early career, and then the longer you're working, of course he's a white man, he was speaking from his place. He said, you know, it's like you do less and less, but then like you just keep
get
getting
more
paid
and more. Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds awesome. I'm going to like look forward to that point in my career. And it did not happen, except I will say there is some element of that I think is true in my experience, from the point of view of like, you gain so much experience that you get shortcuts. You understand the shortcuts. You know how to maneuver.
Yeah. And I just feel like, why is the reward for that
more work?
Yeah. Well,
for women.
Well, yeah, because it's just like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're a CEO and you've like done all these amazing things in your career, so now you don't have to work hard anymore. You just play golf and like make millions of dollars. Like, that seems fucking not a great plan.
No.
You know?
No, it's all built on this assumption that it will be that way, but that's not true for most people.
So here, I guess we can wrap up this podcast on the death of capitalism. So yes, we hope that you feel really buoyed by this, by this listen, and
at least you're not the only one if you're thinking these things.
Yeah,
and we're still out here swimming these waters. We got to do what we got to do, but as much as we can.
But we don't like it.
I don't like it, and I'm trying to stay on my surfboard.
Y'all,
it's hard.
I mean, like, this is the thing. Like, if in the victim, villain, savior paradigm that is falling apart, and it doesn't matter like what part you play in that. It's like, we can all, when we recognize our autonomy and our sovereignty, like, we can choose to get off the hamster wheel. And that's what I'm saying, is just like, if enough of us do it and help each other out, like, we are the leader that we've been waiting for, like, to save us or whatever. Like, I remember like back in the Obama administration, it was like, he's going to be the one, he's going to turn this ship around. And, then he got into the office and it was a big fucking cluster and he had to bail out the banks and everything, which I still feel like is a mistake, or was a mistake. But it's that sort of thing. Like, we need to stop waiting on a CEO or a fucking politician or a federal judge or whatever the fuck to help us out. Like, we're just going to have to take the reins and do it, because we're badasses.
We are. And we can do it.
We can do it.
We can do it.
All right. Well, we love y'all. Bye.
Love you. Bye.